Even amidst a year of uncertainty, isolation, and a global pandemic, I was able to experience different parts of the world through my fellowship, and for that, I am grateful. You might be wondering, how did I do this? Well, hopefully my presentation will allow me to explain. I'm Emily Bernal, and this summer I was paired with the Wildlife Conservation Society. To start, WCS is an international collaborative conservation NGO whose headquarters are in the Bronx Zoo in New York City. Their ultimate aim is to conserve biodiversity. Their two branches consist of their zoos and aquariums and their global conservation field program. I was fortunate enough to work within their global conservation network within their Rights and Communities division specifically. In working within this division, I learned that WCS is in collaboration with over 200 ethnic groups and over 1,000 local communities spread across 60 countries across the globe, all working for a common goal. I also learned that WCS recognizes and values the importance of building effective partnerships with IPLCs, Indigenous people and local communities, and acknowledge how global biodiversity goals are unattainable without the full recognition of IPLC land and resource rights. The Rights and Communities Division, which I worked with, try to aid in this goal. In comes my position. This summer, I was faced with a large challenge. Even with everything previous mentioned, there are still many people, including within the organizations themselves, that do not understand the full breadth of work and collaboration that WCS does with IPLCs. To try and combat this, I was tasked in finding ways to improve internal communications regarding community work in WCS and also to implement an overall guideline to better find, share, and promote the organizational collaborations with IPLCs. Now, at first, I admit I was a little overwhelmed with how I was going to try and accomplish this. But then I basically went back to the basics: ask, listen, and learn. My perspective and experiences alone were not going to help much in facing an organizational communication challenge. A global problem requires global feedback. I wanted to talk to the people on the ground doing the work themselves, the regional directors, country directors, and communication leads all across WCS who could tell me their stories and their experiences and to use their input to how we can help face these communication challenges. So that's what I did. So here are some screenshots from this summer. Overall, I was able to speak to 27 country programs, and I conducted 22 one-on-one interviews. And this was easily my favorite part of the job. This is what I meant by being able to experience different parts of the world. Through their stories, knowledge, and advice, I felt like I was able to travel, even amidst a global pandemic. So in staying true to some of the communication challenges at hand, I thought rather than me trying to explain some of the stories and work I learned in my own words, I thought I'd show you. So this first video comes from current work happening in WCS Argentina.
La selección de los productores a los que les entregamos estos perros está fundamentada en la magnitud del conflicto con carnívoros que existe en la zona, la prioridad de conservación de las especies que habitan el área, el interés del productor para implementar metodologías de manejo amigables con la fauna y el compromiso del productor para mantener el bienestar del perro.
Los ataques de predadores son comunes, las pérdidas son importantes. Carnívoros hay varias especies como puma, zorro, gato montés, gato pajonal y gato andino. Nosotros adaptamos la herramienta porque toda la vida se cazó, toda la vida se armó trampa, se trató de matar y nunca se logró reducir las pérdidas. La expectativa que tengo es que el perro es una herramienta muy buena que vamos a parar la predación. Con el perro se convive con los carnívoros y se protege también lo que uno produce. La fauna es de la zona, tenemos que cuidarla y convivir con ellos.
These are other examples of current articles that are out about WCS work. This one coming from WCS Congo and WCS Indonesia. This last video comes from WCS Fiji concerning local fishermen or fisherwomen.
In 2019, the Wildlife Conservation Society, with several partners in Fiji, conducted a study with fisheries-dependent communities because we wanted to gain an understanding of the roles that women played in small-scale fisheries. Over 1,200 women fishers from across 11 out of Fiji's 14 provinces participated in the study, and I want to share a few of the key findings. Firstly, our results really reinforce several traditional views, such as the fact that Indigenous Itoke women preferentially fish closer to their villages. But our research also challenged other assumptions. For example, we found that women fished a wider range of habitats, from inland rivers to the open ocean, and many, many more species than has previously been described. Many of them are also now starting to use a boat and going out fishing with other men in their village. Women fishers make critical contributions to their household food nutrition and also provide valuable income when they sell their fish and their invertebrates.
Those were just a few examples of the plethora of work that WCS has in collaborations with local communities. So overall, for my interviews, there was a 63% response rate, which I think is excellent. And again, I completed 22 one-on-one interviews, and something that I had asked in my interviews was information on the social media statistics on where and how they share these stories, and so these numbers reflect that. And out of the interviews, there were a few common themes of feedback that WCS leads would like to see incorporated in the future to be able to share these stories. A few are as embedding more local journalists to capture pictures and videos to share these stories, more opportunities for internal sharing, and more frequent communication from the Rights and Communities team. The use of terminology and different perspectives when writing about collaborations with IPLC is very important, and also just embedding more communication staff within WCS country programs. In a lot of instances, the regional or country directors were not only responsible for running their country program, but also any story or social media posts that came out. So there are definitely people who already have quite a busy schedule. And this isn't to say that I didn't encounter challenges or difficulties within my position. In doing these interviews, I learned that some problems were very country specific and wouldn't necessarily fit under a wide breadth for one communication guideline. There were sometimes language barriers between myself and the other interviewees, as well as how different countries would communicate their work to different countries that didn't speak their own language. The word Indigenous is sometimes politicized and not even used in some of the countries that I spoke to. And some WCS country programs are not allowed to share their stories without express consent of their country. So for my final deliverables, to try and address some of these communication challenges, I summarized all the feedback from my interviews and comprised a final recommendations guideline sheet that is now being used by the Rights and Communities team in addition to several global communication and technology leads. I also kept track of the videos, pictures, and articles that I came across that has to do with working with communities, and made a media package that the Director of Individual Giving will be using in her future donor reports. Finally, I created a spreadsheet that listed everyone I contacted and their country's social media statistics. Exciting news for myself is the position within WCS has been extended into the academic year. So from now until May, I will be continuing to help with all these challenges at hand. A current project that I'm working on is to come up with and implement tags and hashtags that concern WCS community work that will be used within their social media, publications, and newsrooms to better categorize and find IPLC stories. In addition to loving the work I did this summer, I really appreciate the Rights and Communities team for letting me be a voice to this issue and for valuing my ideas and contributions. I couldn't have done it without their support, And I hope the work I did and am continuing to do will make an impact, and the advice and concerns of my interviewees will be heard. I also hope that you as an audience, as audience members, were able to appreciate and learn from some of the stories that I shared with you today. It's simple but worth repeating. Wildlife in protected areas do not save themselves. It stems from international, intersectional stages of collaboration. People. Indigenous and local communities are vital partners to WCS and are the reason why so many conservation initiatives are successful today. I am very grateful that this fellowship allowed me to not only improve on my own communication techniques as a conservation professional, but it allowed me to dynamically travel and learn from a multitude of perspectives, all of which are striving towards a common goal. Thank you.